Episode 1 Mobius. It was winter of 1979, December 31st in Romania. It was a Monday. Victor Temescu was walking the streets of Bucharest. He was smoking and eventually sat down on a bench to think about all the horrible stuff he had to go through in just that single day. First off, when he woke up and got out of bed, he fell and landed right on his knee. Then later on, one of his classmates, Bogdan, who usually bullies him about being poor, decided to brag about his new imported leather coat. Then Bogdan decided to start hitting Victor in the shoulder. Bogdan eventually pulled out a cigarette and a lighter and lit it and blew it in Victor's face. He did a few more times, and later on, Bogdan left his jacket unchecked. Victor stole it, but unfortunately Bogdan noticed, and he and his goons started running after Victor. They eventually caught up to him and started beating him, but then he managed to stand up one more time before falling into a river. He managed to climb himself out and started flicking the lighter to light a cigarette. However, it was flickering. Eventually it started working and Victor started smoking a cigarette. However, a car just barely stopped. It hit him, though not as hard as it could have, and he skid across the ground a few meters. And the driver got out of the car and then got back in, realizing that Victor may press charges, and drove to finish him off. After running a while, limping, Victor made it to a narrow alleyway and to the other side. He eventually started feeling somewhat better, and lit another cigarette, and wandered the empty streets for a little while, until he sat down on a park bench. Eventually the cigarette went out, and he just laid there on the bench, flicked the cigarette away. He then could have sworn he saw something falling down with the snow, like a glowing, golden, strobing sphere thing. He then just fell asleep, thinking the snow looked beautiful. He would awaken to something rather not fun. It was Bogdan kicking him in the stomach and right through the bench. A bit of wood stabbed into the right side of his ribs, and another bit of wood stabbed into his left thigh. Just another misfortune. He then tried to crawl out on one side, but Bogdan started pulling him out from the other and snapped the piece of wood in his side. He then pulled out the piece of wood in Victor's thigh. "Would you look at that? We found the dirty rat," said Bogdan. Hey, I just got stabbed twice by that wood. Can't you just leave me alone and call it even?" asked Victor. Bogdan crouched down and pulled the piece of wood from Victor's right side. "Ah! From what I can see, we can't be even, considering the fact my jacket just got stabbed because of you," said Bogdan. "But it's not my fault," responded Victor, before having the jacket taken off of him, and he fell down again. Then Bogdan said, "Let's bring him to an alley." Victor tried to stand up, but because of his knee getting hurt and his thigh getting stabbed, getting hit by the car, he couldn't make it very far. So rushed, and he slipped, landed directly on the back of his head. Bogdan ripped Victor's shirt off and dragged him through the cold snow to an alley. "Let's teach this little bastard a lesson he won't forget," said Bogdan whilst putting his jacket back on. They started beating him before one of Bogdan's goons grabbed a piece of snow and shoved it in Victor's mouth. Victor spat it out and he went, "Too cold." Bogdan said, "That's a pretty good idea." He and the other goons started walking out the alley to collect snow, and the goon that put the snow in Victor's mouth stayed in the alley looking at them and grinning. Victor grabbed a broken piece of a crutch that had obviously been thrown away and aimed it at the goon. The goon looked at him and got angry, then looked back at Bogdan and was about to shout when, almost unconsciously, Victor extended the crutch and it smashed right into the goon's chin, spinning it around and giving him a concussion. The goon fell down and Victor sat up with now 2 meters long broken end of a crutch. the hell did I just do? He said under his uncontrollable breathing. Then Bogdan's other goon noticed and said, Victor somehow knocked out Eugen. Huh? How? I don't know, but Eugen's lying unconscious. He then looked at Victor, started approaching him. Victor let go of the crutch as it was too heavy for his weak self. Right then, he grabbed a brick and stood up. The goon punched Victor, making him stumble back. The goon then punched Victor in the gut, causing him to keel over, barely keeping balance. He managed to stand up again and punch whilst holding the brick to the goon. The goon sent his head backwards and the brick missed his face by just an inch. However, like last time, Victor managed to extend the brick. It doubled length and smashed right into the goon's face, sending him flat onto his back. He then dropped the brick as it was now too heavy. He looked past and saw Bogdan. You little bastard. I don't know how you beat them up, but after what you did earlier and now this, don't think I'm gonna let you go off easy, he said. Victor swiped a little blood off his mouth. He then grabbed a metal pipe. Hey now. You could actually kill me with that thing, said Bogdan. I'm pretty sure you've been trying to kill me this whole time, so I think we would be finally even, right? Bogdan started to approach Victor slowly. Come on now, man. Don't say stuff like that. Just put it down. Victor just looked down at the pipe. He was clenching with both hands. Suddenly, Bogdan charged at him, and in an instant, Victor extended the pipe while swinging it down and smashed it right against Bogdan's skull. Bogdan fell down, eyes blank and unconscious. Victor dropped the pipe and slowly walked out of the alley and fell onto his knees. He looked behind himself and saw Bogdan laying down. He then smiled. For the first time in his life, he felt like he had accomplished something. Later that night, he returned to his parents' house, wearing a brand new leather jacket. On top of that, he had now just gained a new sense of wonder of the ability that had been given to him. He decided to name it Mobius, after the Mobius strip. He went to bed with a few nasty wounds, but thankfully they were not that deep. And he had a brand new lighter he used to cauterize them. He wondered what the future had in store for him from this point, and when he would wake up, he would find himself in a new year, not only figuratively, but literally too.